Don't let bad environments limit your ambitions for your career, for your family, for your quality of life. Start your week great. Start your week with a coach. I'm your host, certified high performance coach, Sean Butner, and we're going to talk about something that'll help you advance in your life this week. So let's go. Hey, it's Sean, and welcome to the blog, or welcome back to the blog, wherever you're at here. Today we have a really exciting topic on how to really speak up in an environment where maybe you don't feel like you can, right? And that's usually the sign that the environment maybe isn't the most supportive, that the environment isn't really the best at cultivating those honest conversations. So the question becomes, like, what do you do if you're in one of those positions and if you're at that job where you don't feel the support that you really need to succeed? Or how do you go and find that environment if you're looking to shift? Because as we know, the last 2 years we've been trying to play it safe, or we've been coping with working from home or working with how the world changed. And the people that are really going to win are the people that can focus on their performance, that can focus on being great at their crafts, at their professions, in their businesses, making the biggest impact, adding the most value, all that kind of stuff. So we want you to be that person, and you don't want your environment to be limiting your ambitions, your goals, your dreams, the things that you want to accomplish out there. So that's what we're talking about today. So if you've ever had an environment where you didn't really trust your management or the people you worked with, so you knew that there were a lot of problems, but you didn't want to stick your neck out to say, hey, we need to fix this. That's one side that maybe you're working in a poor environment. So another sign is maybe you're afraid to try anything because you have coworkers that are looking to publicly shame every little mistake you make in order to make themselves look good. And I've had both situations where, you have a job that's very top down, or a boss that's very top down. And, working in tech, it's pretty common, I think, for inexperienced managers that were engineers to really focus on being right and not focus on leading the team. So that's a really important distinction on what you need to be doing out there, is engaging and figuring out and making sure that the people that aren't speaking up are invited into the conversation, because they usually have insights on ways to be more efficient, on ways to be more productive as a team, or people that maybe aren't living up to what they need to do. Just things that a manager needs to do. So if you're a manager, you have that hat on. How do you build a high performance team? How do you create an environment where people feel open and can really share what's going on, right? That's super important. But there are other another experience that I've had is I've had coworkers that were looking to move up, the ladder climber, as some people in corporate America might call it, who are solely focused on advancing their careers at the cost of everyone around them. And the thing is, you do that, you don't make a lot of friends, and you only get so high in an organization before that lack of support or creating enemies really limits your career growth. So you don't want to be that person either. And you probably know that person in your organization. So how do you maybe handle that a bit more? So I have 5 ideas to really help you either try to fix or evaluate an environment. So that's the hat I want you to have. And hopefully you have some notes ready to take here, just to jot down what you're thinking and kind of capture some of this, because I think it'll really help you, right? So how do high performers help improve their organizations despite bad work environments, right? And these 5 strategies are loosely clumped over how do you lead in whatever position you are, whether you have that, what I want to say authentic, it's the not authentic authority, it's the formal authority. You're the manager, you're the business owner, you're the boss, that kind of thing. Or you're someone that's just really great at their job as an individual contributor, and you are able to lead because people respect your opinion. People know that you know what's going on. So, or, any position you can really lead. You don't have to be the best on the team, but you can be the person that is facilitating these types of things, right? So the first thing to do is to raise expectations, right? Speak to the highest common denominator. Now, I worked at Apple, and I worked at Walmart, and the difference between the two is an orientation. At Walmart, they have this phrase from Sam Walton that says, ordinary people doing extraordinary things, which is kind of inspiring, but it's kind of also, cutting you down. But like that expectation that you're going to do great things was there, and they've been able to pivot years and years and years and remain one of the biggest, companies ever. So, that phrase by the founder, really kind of sets the tone the first day you're there. You're expected to do great things, even though you're just a normal guy, right? Like I said, not super inspiring. Apple, I think, gets the inspiration and the expectation kind of married together pretty well, where you could walk in the auditorium where they used to give the iPhone, the original iPhone speech that, changed tech, and you sit down and they have a slide up that says something roughly like, we hired you because you're smart, and we're looking forward to you doing your best work in your career here at Apple, right? And just like that feeling of like, oh, I've joined a group of people that are smart, right? So it's kind of acknowledging that they're acknowledging that you're smart, and they're acknowledging that you're going to do really great work. And that's that framing as an employee. You're expected to, you might be a lot, or not a lot, you might be pretty independent in what you're doing, but you're expected to do great things. You're expected to do the right thing. You're expected to be a leader in your field, and it's right off the bat. So that could be the difference in an environment. If you're working with people that are at their best, that are the best in the game, and so you're playing on the A team, right? Then you know that, you can do some of the other things we'll talk about. But you should be the person that's holding people to account too. When you see, a star athlete slacking, the coach gets in there and is like, hey, what's going on? What's going on in your head? What's going on in your life? Why are you not performing here? How do we, get you back in the game? And so raising expectations is going to get people back in the game, especially after a lot of people holding back, like we've had a rough 2 years. So 3 years, however long this stupid pandemic's been. And on top of the war, inflation, all the other factors that are causing people to hold back, we need, if we're going to win in this environment today, we need to be pushing, we need to be, making sure that we want to level up our skills, we want to be making the biggest contributions that we can to our families, to our organizations, to our communities, to our sense of self. So it's super important to raise expectations. So that's why we're starting there, folks. Okay. Second idea to help evaluate or, help improve or evaluate your work environment is to focus on performance, right? So we're raising expectations, but we're not just saying like, you should do, 120 hours of work a week, right? That's gonna burn people out, and I think we convolute sometimes this conversation on performance with hours put in, but we want you to be doubling your output. We want you to be thinking about how can you be doing things quicker. We want you to be thinking about how can you be more effective at the job, working on the team. How can we, cut red tape? How can we, again, prevent ourselves from being in this like holding back and waiting mode and get into action, get into making things happen, finishing those projects, getting those big results for your customers, whatever that is. But that conversation of performance, that conversation and focus on performance is going to help differentiate people that just want to take advantage of you, right? It's one thing to be like, hey, I want you to work double. And there's another thing to be like, hey, you're working smarter. How can we, help the other team or help the others on the team use the processes, using your methods, or using the insights that you have on your process to make us all more effective. So focusing on performance too. Also, if you're playing with those A players, the people that are on the top of their game, the high performers, it isn't something that they're going to take personally, right? If you're an A player and someone's like, hey, you could do a better job, you're like, okay, like, why do you say that? You're not gonna take it personally. You're gonna be curious. You can be like, okay, why did you say that? And then you'll probably be honest. You'll be like, yeah, I think you are correct. Or you'll be like, no, this is the part you're missing. Okay, I get it now, and you move on. But it's not a personal attack. It's in service to the bigger goal, right? Which is the next strategy, right? So focus on performance is number 2. Think big picture is number 3. So that is being connected to the value you're adding. It's being connected to how you're helping people out there. It's being connected to, how the work that you do puts good out into the world. And that if you're a janitor, or a CEO, right? It doesn't matter. Like being very clear on how your role right now adds value to the organization, helps your family put food on the table and a roof over your head. Like it's all the same in that regard. Maybe the compensation's a bit different, but if you want to get higher levels of compensation, and be noticed as a leader, like being, constantly communicating the big picture, what we want, right? And like my theme today on what I think most people want and will need to win in these times is that performance edge. That again, that conversation focused on how do we give more, how do we go for it, how do we take bold actions towards our maybe audacious goals, but super important. So constantly be talking and connecting people with the big picture, what you're doing. Apple again was really great at this because you could see everybody's work every year when Tim Cook would announce the new OS or the new things and all that stuff. You could, from talking on the team and talking with your manager, like I made sure that particular feature that's being highlighted now didn't mess up on stage, and you could hear people talking about it like on airplanes and stuff. It's pretty nuts, but it was a really awesome experience. So that's being connected to like, oh, people use this thing every day, in my particular case at Apple, and people generally like the thing, is really cool and will keep you motivated and keep you on task and keep you from taking things personally when you're making a difference with what you're doing. And that's kind of, connecting, I think big is connecting the big difference to your day-to-day. All right, so the next thing to do is to be a weapon at whatever you do. And what does that mean? That means you want to make sure that if you're a software engineer, if you're a doctor, if you're a mental health professional, that you have the skills that you need to be the best. You're constantly trying to grow, and the biggest measure isn't who's number 1 in my field, but it's like how well did I do yesterday? You want to continually be improving, and eventually you'll be a beast. And so focusing on your career development, focusing on what's going to help you get to the next level is going to help those around you. It'll inspire people. People will trust you for your opinion, especially if you have enough perspective to have the right one often. And you start to really focus again on, what is the right thing, right? When you're trying to improve, when you're trying to be a weapon in your job, it's not just that you are the best coder, but you're also the best learner at the new methods of code and software, or you're the best doctor because you're up to research on all the current research for your particular thing or field or whatever that is. So super, super important. So yeah, always just focus on sharpening your saw and being the best at what you do, because the world needs more people that are great at what they do. And then the 5th thing is move to the right place. Sometimes you are in an organization and management changes and the environment shifts, and there's only so much you can do yourself to change things, to make sure the environment's great for the people you work with, the people maybe that you lead, on your team, upper management, all the folks that are involved. But, there's only so much you can do. And if people aren't on board for that, that's when maybe, and then I think this is the part of the Great Resignation. So people are wondering, why are people leaving jobs at record numbers? And it's like, people are leaving bad environments, bad bosses, bad jobs, things that aren't really paying them for the contribution that they're putting into the organizations. So it's super important to be cognizant of that if you're a manager or a leader, that people will leave if you're not compensating them enough, if you're not providing that collaborative environment, if you're not speaking to performance, if you're not helping them, improve and become a weapon in their job. So this checklist that we were talking about, if you're not talking to the highest common denominator and speaking to the people that are doing the best and pushing people and showing people how to get into that high performance mode, people are going to leave. So if you're in that position and you're like, I've put my heart into making this team great, making this part of my organization great, and it's still not awesome, maybe that's when you shift laterally to a more productive part of your organization, or maybe that's when you shift jobs altogether, or maybe that's when you shift careers. Maybe you start that business because you're just sick of the politics, you're sick of being poorly managed or a poorly managed organization. You're like, I can do it better, and you're gonna go put your money where your mouth is. So those are my 5 strategies again to go over it. It's to raise expectations, and then to focus on performance, to think big picture and connect the difference maker, that connect your daily work to the big difference you're making, be a weapon at what you do, and then to move to the right place, and don't be afraid to move to a place that will support your ambitions and goals and dreams and abundance and financial and all that kind of stuff, if it's going to help further that. Don't let the environment limit you on any of those. So all right, guys, that said, again, the past few years have been really playing it safe or coping with how the world's changed. But the people who are going to advance the quickest, that are going to get the promotions, that are going to, really succeed in this new phase of the world, are going to be ones that are finding the right environments or creating the right environments that support them in their pursuit of awesomeness, right? So, if you can't speak about problems at work openly, it's probably environment problem as an example, but don't let that lousy environment hold you back in your career or life, right? There is so much opportunity out there. There is so much that you can do to make sure you're in the right spot as we move forward. And so, if you are interested in a discussion with a coach, with someone that has a proven scientific process for helping people get breakthroughs, I'll have a link below on where you can sign up for a free 1-hour strategy session with me on high performance. And again, high performance is just, how do you beat what's ever consistent in your life? So if you're like, I've been working at this job, I know there's a new next level for me, but I don't know how to get there, it's a great opportunity to consult with a coach, or just consult with me or any other coach, career coach, life coach. Good thing about high performance is it's holistic, so we'll talk about your career, personal relationships, health, and well-being, amongst other things. But we like to take those different angles because they're often interrelated. So if you are interested in that, there's the link below in the blog. If not, no worries. We'll see you guys next week on Start Your Week with a Coach. And this is Sean saying, live with more joy, more personal growth, and more impact in your communities today.